In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to take your artwork and place it on an application using the vanishing point filter in Photoshop. And this is something you're going to be doing a lot of, whether it's for your portfolio or whether it's for a professional client presentation. A lot of times you're going to take your artwork and put it into its real life application to really tell your story in a more convincing way or a more concrete way. So the vanishing point filter is a really powerful way to do that when we have a plane that is going to allow us to define where that perspective is. So in this case, we have these four corners of the bag, and that's going to give us enough information to tell where the perspective is going to be, and Photoshop is going to do the rest of the work for us. So we have this nice white bag to work with. It's always great to select white surfaces because it makes your compositing so much easier. If I zoom in on this bag, you can see there's all this texture and shadow data that we're going to be able to use to make our composite very realistic. If this bag had already artwork or patterning on it, it would make it much more difficult. So in order to use the vanishing point filter, the first thing we're going to have to do is put our artwork into the clipboard. So I have my artwork here on a separate layer, and if I hold down Command and click in this little box, it's going to make a selection of exactly where the artwork is, which is what we want. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to hit Command C to copy it into the clipboard, and then I'll just turn off this layer and hit Command D to deselect. Then I'm going to create a new layer because when I use the vanishing point filter, it's usually best to do it in a new layer. So I'll create a new layer here, and then I'll go to Filter and down to Vanishing Point. When I do this, it's going to bring up a separate dialog box. And this tool can be a little bit intimidating, a little bit finicky to work with at first, but once you figure it out, it's really powerful. So first thing we're going to do is use this Create Plane tool up here and just define the four corners of where the plane is. So if I click around here, you can see that Photoshop sees this as a plane, and I can always go back and adjust to make it more precise if I want to. There we go. And once I do that, I can just go ahead and hit Command V to paste my artwork in, and then just drag it. And when I drag it, you can see it's gonna just put it right onto the bag. And unfortunately, this is like a little bit too big, so I'm gonna hit Undo here and go back to where the artwork is flat, and then I can hit Command T to bring up the transform tool and just scale it down how I want it. So that might be a little bit better. So I'll try again and just bring it in. And so that's looking better. I like that scale. There we go. So I'll just put it into the right location and then click OK. And you can see it puts it into perspective for us, which is really great. The last thing we need to do here is bring the handle on top because we don't want the artwork covering up the handle. And so what I have here is I've made a path using the pen tool of the handle. So I'll create a copy of our background layer by hitting Command J, and then we'll make a selection using this path that I have here by alternate clicking or right clicking. I'll feather it just a little bit, and now I'll go back and make a layer mask on this layer here. And then when I drag it on top, you can see the handle comes over. And then what I want to do is multiply this artwork over the bag, because right now, since it's totally flat, there's no shading at all, it just doesn't look convincing at all. But if I change this to multiply, you can see all of a sudden it looks really realistic because all of that shadow data is coming through. So it's making it look really good. And then the last thing we can do is actually use a layer mask to cut this out, because this is not a perfect shape. There's some inconsistencies to the edge here. And so using this path pen tool that I have from before, I'm just going to make a selection. There we go. And then I'm going to use a layer mask on this to just cut out those edges so that it follows the contours of the bag a little bit more. And there you go. That's all you need to do to use the vanishing point tool to put this into perspective. So hope that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.